Welcome to Unveiling Your Numerology. Let's get unveiled with me, Melissa Kendall. So today we're going to be discussing our overabundance numbers. I'm going to teach you how to find them, tell you what an overabundance number actually means to you, and then I'm going to give a brief description through the numbers. This is what an overabundance number is. An overabundance number means that you have too much of that influence, to the point that the ease in which you can carry that number's influence tends to lead you into the derogatory or negative side of that number, because you tend to take on that negative and have a hard time finding balance in it. You have a lot to gain in that influence, but you give it so strongly. You ultimately have control of yourself, so you can choose what areas of that influence that you enact. Even if you have that influence over you, you don't have to be pulled into the negative. You just have to direct your energies. Now let's find our overabundance numbers. We're going to make a chart like this, but with your name. What we're going to do is have our first, middle, last up here in the corner. You're going to see a chart of the alphabet giving number value to each letter. So we're going to follow that and make our letters into numbers. So M is the 13th letter of the alphabet. 1 plus 3 is 4. I is the 9th letter. L is the 12th. 1 plus 2 is 3. And we're going to put the reduced number value for every letter in the alphabet of our name. On this gigantic number sign, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And it makes it easier for you if you actually write the numbers in and separate them. Take a moment, pause the video, go figure out what your number value is using this chart over here, and have a graph laid out, and then return. Now that you've returned and you have your numbers, we're going to figure out what our missing numbers are. So here I have a 4. I'm going to make one line in a 4. A tally marker here in the 9. A tally marker in the 3.
3, 9, 1, 1, 1.
My first name is done. Now I'm going to move on to my second name.
1 tally marker, another tally marker. 5, 5, 2, 2, 5.
And then I'm going to move on to my last name. You're going to be doing this with your name. Your name will have a completely different number value than mine. But here I have 5 is really strong and 1 is really strong. Those numbers are my clear abundance numbers. To decide if I have an overabundance, I'm going to look and see if I have numbers that are similarly sized. Here, this number is similarly sized. Here, this one is moderately sized. Okay, so I feel like I've got a good balance here. I don't have an over-dominated sense of having way too many numbers in one category. Now, each number placement has a different strength. Now, having an idea of your largest numbers does help you to determine if you may have an overabundance. These are possible overabundance, but I've got some balance having numbers that are similarly sized. Here are 2 examples of clear overabundance numbers. Because there are so many numbers in these categories compared to the other categories, our other categories are fairly low. And then we've got a lot of 1s and a lot of 9s. So these are likely overabundance because they are so strong in that area. I would read this chart as an overabundance 1 and overabundance 9. We have the same thing going on here where we have 6 5s. We have 3 1s and 3 3s, and everything else is very low. So because this person is very dominant in the 5s, that would be an overabundance 5. Here's how to find overabundance numbers in a balanced chart. Now, based on the chart that's over here in the corner, we're going to see the frequency in which numbers tend to come. Red being less likely, all the way to blue, which is more likely. For instance, an 8 being an H, you're less likely to have H's in your name versus 5 being an E. So this is H, Q, and Z, and this is E, N, and W. They're a lot more common, so we're not going to rate them on the same level to have tally markers. The chart up here, we're going to determine that, okay, with the red, I am not in overabundance because I do not have 2 or more. Here in the orange categories of 7 and 6, I do not have 3 or more. In the categories of 2, 4, and 9, do I have 4 or more? No, I don't. Here in the category of 3 and 1, do I have 5 or more? Right here, I have 5. So even though this was a suspicious overabundance, now it is a confirmed overabundance. Here, because my numbers are so similarly balanced, we have to go through the color coding system to find overabundance. Now, looking at number 5, I have 5 tally markers. I do not have 6 or more, which would be an overabundance. So this is a suspicious but not confirmed overabundance, which means that I have an abundance of 5s, but I'm not having a crazy amount. Now let me tell you what these influences mean. Having 5 or more 1s. Overabundance 1, you are way too individualistic. You are so unique, can't relate to other people, and people can't relate to you. You also end up being lonely, and depression can hit you very hard. You just feel cut off and secluded from the world. An overabundance 1 can be like outgoing and brave to the point that they can cause bodily injury to themselves. Having 4 or more 2s. Overabundance 2, you are all about partnership to the point that you lose your identity in those around you. You're going all out into what they are that you forget what you are, and can get into some bad relationships with people where they are so submissive, they get taken advantage of. It's very emotional, crazy emotions. Their highs and lows are very big. 2 wants like peace and harmony, cooperation, justice, and balance, and practical in their ideas of justice to the point that if things are not just, they can freak out. An overabundance 2 does not understand that the world's not fair. If you have 5 or more 3s. Having an overabundance in the number 3, you are so creative, so imaginative that you can't leave your own world. You can create your own world and you live in it, and you lose reality. You have such a crazy artistic expression that you push the limits. It can be good because you can draw attention, but you can also hurt people in pushing the limits. Some things don't need to be said. Some things don't need to be made. An overabundance 3 is somebody who's going to say it. They talk too much about everything, and they just can't stop. They identify with their friends to the point that they lose themselves in that group. They have to have friends, and if they don't have friends, they feel like they are just going to lose their... Sorry, can't swear. If you have 4 or more 4s. You have an overabundance of 4. You are so practical, so hardworking, driven, structured, that you become stagnant. When I say stagnant, that means a one-note wonder. Whatever you're working hard in, you cannot see anything past that. You become so structured and rigid that people around you can't move. You're very reliable to the point of you are so predictable, so detailed that you never get the job done. If you have 6 or more 5s. Having an overabundance of 5. Oh my goodness. You are a person who cannot hold still. You're not grounded. You just want to go, go, go. Might even be the nomad or the hitchhiker that just never stays in one spot. Also, a tendency for addictive behavior. You could be addicted to drugs very easily, alcohol, gambling. You have to avoid those things so that you don't get stuck in them. An overabundance 5 could also be an overeater. You basically partake of the worldly goods to an extreme. You're such a freedom fighter that you lose your freedom in the fight for freedom. So you become rebellious. When you become rebellious, you want to break all the rules. Nobody can tell you what to do. And then when nobody can tell you what to do, or if they do tell you what to do, you're going to do the exact opposite. If you have 3 or more 6s. You're an overabundant 6. You have invested into like your home and family to the point that you have almost no identity outside of your home and family. Responsible for those around you. It can be as if you're carrying the world on your shoulders. An overabundance 6, really, really controlling. They have so many expectations of those who are immediately around them that they don't allow those people to have an individual nature. Like almost they live through their children. They live through their home life. They are Martha Stewart on crack. Pretty much everything has to be done a certain way to the point that people can't move freely. If you have 3 or more 7s, an overabundance of 7 is a person that cannot get out of a book. They live in their mind literally. They're thinking, constantly learning. They are a person who would likely shut out the world in their intellectual pursuits, cut off those around them. So they are like the forever student, never fully graduate because they can never learn enough because they've got 4 doctorates, but they've never practiced. They are very visionary, so they have this idealistic way in which things should be run. For instance, religious, they can be very dogmatic to the point that they can become religious extremists in whatever religious or spiritual practice they have. They probably apply it in an extreme fashion. You can get involved in cults. If you have 2 or more 8s, if you have an overabundance 8, this world is your domain. This person can be very, very superficial. They really are so embedded in worldly things and material gain that they can't think outside of it. They're money minded. Growing their wealth is great, but then they can also build extreme insecurities over the loss of anything worldly. They cannot let go of what they have. It's theirs. They're so into their look and their style, the way they present themselves constantly needs approval. If you are not giving them that approval that meets their ideas that they have of drive and success and ambition that they put forth, they're going to cut you off because you don't appreciate them. What they have identifies them. So these people are very driven to have. If you have 4 or more 9s, if you have way too many 9s, you forget the people in front of you. You can, you want to save the world, save the universe. You're a dreamer and a humanitarian. You take it to such an extreme, always trying to save people at their own expense. Their helpfulness becomes invasive. Somebody who needs help will ask for help, or you'll end up messing things up because they didn't need help with that. They've got it. And you came in and helped. Like, you want to help, but don't help to the demeaning of another person. So thank you for watching Unveiling Your Numerology with me, Melissa Kendall. If you found this video helpful, please like, share, and subscribe.